All right, it is 6 p.m. on November the 6th. We're going to call this meeting to order. We're going to start off with a pledge of allegiance by Councilman Chaves and an opening prayer by Councilman Williams.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
1 second.
Gotta take a drink of water before the prayer. Don't, is it gonna be that long?
No.
Holy water. Sorry.
Holy water.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we come to you this beautiful evening in this beautiful valley to ask a blessing on this group of citizens assembled. Thank you for everything that you've given us. Thank you for this great country. And thank you for the ability to do what is right. And we say these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. I'd like to welcome everybody out tonight and on this wonderful, good day that we're having today. I'll thank everybody that voted this year and helped our democratic process move along. If anybody has a statement of belief that they would like to share with us this evening, now is the time. If not, I'd like to turn us over to our city attorney and have her introduce herself.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Kayla Gothard. I work with Bruce Jenkins, who's the designated city attorney. So I'll be attending city council, planning commission. I'll be really actively involved with any contract review or matters that come to Bruce from the city. I grew up in Las Vegas, Nevada. I went to school at BYU, got my undergrad and my law degree there. And then I moved to St. George. I wanted to be closer to my family, and this was the perfect middle ground. In terms of other things about me, I love horses. Horses are my passion. So when I'm not doing law, I'm riding horses.
You need to get with Emily.
Yeah, sounds like we need to be friends.
She's got all the trails around here figured out, or most of them, so.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll have to get in touch.
Well, thank you. We're excited to have you here, and I think it's going to be great. We'll get to know you, and you'll get to know us. And we're not always super serious, so help us keep us in line. All right, we're going to move into the approval of the agenda and any declarations of conflicts. Agenda look good to everybody? Just need a motion.
I move that we go ahead and approve the agenda order.
Second.
Have a motion, a second. Any discussion on the agenda? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Any declaration, any conflicts?
I have none.
All right. I don't think anybody here that does this evening. If they do, speak up quick. All right. Consent agenda, review of the possible approval of meeting minutes from October 16th City Council meeting.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from October 16th, 2024 City Council meeting.
Second.
Have a motion, a second. Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain? Yeah, look at, no worries. All right, the consent agenda, review and possible approval of city expenditures for September 2024.
We tabled these, right, last time, and then they're brought them back just for, we had more time to review
That was the time before, I think.
Yeah, they were already.
Yeah, so this is September.
them.
Yeah.
September, okay.
Yeah.
I would go ahead and move that we go ahead and approve the city expenditures. Does that include the budget worksheet too as well? Okay. It isn't specified here, but I just need to say I approve the city expenditures.
Second.
Any further discussion on our city expenditures? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. All right, we'll move on to city department reports. Start with Matt, Ashby Special Service District. How are we doing tonight, Matt?
Living the dream.
That's awesome.
Happy to be here.
You're looking good without that beard. Is it just the once a year thing? I haven't seen you in a while without
That is
it.
a matter of opinion,
Who's?
but that's exactly right. Whose is the question?
Okay.
Yeah, so not a lot to report. The treatment plant is moving along. All the process basins are complete as far as they're built. They're being tested right now.
How many gallons does each one hold?
How many were they?
Or a lot?
Like 600,000 gallons, I think is what we,
And you're just pumping from one tank to the other, right?
Right.
Basically.
Yep.
Perfect.
yep, so we're trying to utilize the water as efficiently as possible. So,
Well,
So
this time of
that's-
year, you don't have a lot of, evaporation, so we're not losing
Right.
much that way. So it's a good time to test.
yeah, for sure, it is. But other than that, we're just still moving along on the treatment plant and things are looking good.
Great.
So,
Any questions for
any questions?
Ash Creek?
So how are you going to determine the intake and the output and what the degradation is between the two? Is there does that calculates that or?
So we won't have an outgoing meter or an effluent meter on the treatment plant. We'll only have an influent meter. However, pretty much everything that comes in as far as liquids will be going out. There'll be a slight fraction that we retain / waste, but that's going to be pretty negligible. So
Okay,
There
so the
won't-
water district will measure the output then? Is what they
Right.
plan to do, okay.
and I'm not sure. The process of designing a reuse building or a reuse pump station. And there is currently not a flow meter on that, I don't think. No, I don't remember.
Yeah. I
But
don't
we're
remember.
in kind of the early stages of that. So.
Yeah, and I don't know if they were did you just try and figure out what belongs to whom, or how are we, I'm just
Well,
curious
I'm
what
just
you're.
trying to, later on, we're going to be talking about this contract and I'm trying to determine a number that the water district came up with. And I didn't know if that was going to be handled by the Ash Creek Sewer District or the Water District or
Yeah.
both.
Good question.
Yeah, so we'll be able to tell you what's coming in. But as far as what's going out, it's going to be pretty close to what's coming in.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, currently the reuse contract is proposing a depletion accounting number is the technical term. And right now that is an engineer's estimate. So
Okay.
that may be something from what I understand that's refined as time goes on.
Okay. Thank you.
yep.
Any other questions? All right, Hurricane Valley Fire District. Looks like Merlin's not here tonight. Just so you know, I'm on the district there, so I will report a little bit. I had a meeting with the county commissioners yesterday, and they are going to approve the tax increase, but they're with the district. They don't believe we're going to need the tax increase, and as soon as we can, we're going to reverse that the property tax increase. So the state legislators have promised us that almost the very first bill that goes through will be our sales tax increase of 0.003 cents to help pay for the EMS. And that will, once we get that, before June, we will reverse the property tax increase and leave it the way it is. So things are going nice there.
So that there's a possibility it may not ever hit the property tax.
That's the goal, because we have to by, I think the June 15th with the county, we have to say what we have to publish that tax increase to go into effect in November. But we are told that it's going to be approved in January. The governor's going to sign it as quick as he possibly can. We're going to get into effect. And then we're going to do it before June. We're going to have that property tax increase reversed.
Okay, excellent.
So, yeah, we're excited about that. Other things on the Hurricane Valley Fire, we've got several of our representatives and senators up there working on some TRT money. We're trying to reword some of the laws of the state where all the TRT money goes, and we're trying to carve off a piece of that to fund EMS. And if that's the case, then we'll either adjust the sales tax a little bit or drop a little bit more on the property tax. So we're trying to reverse some sales tax and or property tax where we can even further than what we're doing now. So we just got to but that's going to take at least a year. So we're going to work on that really hard over the next year, because we just think we're going to start with the talks this year, get a bill maybe written up and discussed, and then probably the following year we'll get the TRT hopefully we'll get it through. We have a lot of good interest in doing that. So the fire district's looking really good. There's, of course, a lot of growth and a lot with that. They're going to redo their impact fee study come the first of the year. I don't think they're getting enough money on their impact fees because I'm all about growth paying for growth. So if we can get more impact fee money from the fire district, then they can help pay for new fire engines and fire stations. So, all right, we're going to move on. I don't see Bob here tonight.
How about, one question on that is how
Yeah.
about working on the amount of tourism marketing they
That's,
spend
that, yeah, so that,
spend towards the
back to
TRT.
the TRT funds. So the TRT funds, the state regulation says it's 47% of all money gathered for TRT has to be sold, has to be spent back into advertising.
Right,
So we don't understand why we have to advertise the Southern Utah that much.
you think?
So if we can drop that down to 25% and we can take the rest of that money and put it towards EMS, that's what we're trying to do. But but that's, yeah, we would love to see less money go to advertising. People, we could stop advertising tomorrow and people are going to keep coming
Exactly.
with Google and Facebook and Spot and Instagram and all those things. People will keep coming regardless if we're paying money into Instagram or into advertising. So.
So what does the ad say? Come to Utah, bring your own water?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if they drink it here and leave it here, we'll just reuse it. So, I mean, right, Matt, that what we're headed for? Okay. Bob's not here today, but we're a little bit of, Darren, would you like to go over the bypass road a little bit, or you want to do it on your section?
Well, we've got some items on the G4, 5, and 8, which will be kind of tying into this. We do have a video here. I don't know if this is where we wanted to play that. If you wanted to see this, this is actually UDOT had flown this with their drone, and it starts obviously there from I-15. Sees a lot of that new development that's happening out there at Anderson Junction, and they actually fly over the reservoir a little bit. I think they kind of got sucked to hey, look at what's going on over here. But it's a good drone video of what they flew. It eventually gets down to that south end of the cut, and where the Judd is working on the excavation thereof. But as it continues on down, does a lot of things. I'll just kind of talk about some of the things on that south end as you watch. If we can stop that, if you guys have any questions as we're flying along. But as we met with the mayor and Joey and Ben and myself with UDOT about 2 weeks ago as a work group type of a scenario to try to figure out the final hurdles to get the parkway finished. And some of the big things there were just as we've spoken in previous meetings, was basically the right of way, the additional properties needed there, getting the price from engineers to figure out the concern with the power pole that's on the north side of the cut. I've been working pretty feverishly trying to get that plus a final design for the 4 lanes from a couple of different engineers, specifically called out into the meeting. We had civil science, and that's our item G8 on the agenda. So I'll go into a little more detail at that point in time, but kind of where we're continuing forward is Rocky Mountain Power. As we talk about that timeline, Rocky Mountain Power is committed that if we decide to go that way, they will scrap and get everything they can as quick as they can from their other yards, so that won't be holding anything up there. So the big timeline concerns though on that is if we start to try to go that direction, moving that power pole down and getting the power down, coming up the Tokerville Boulevard to the cemetery entrance, the timeline on that is probably a minimum of 4 months between design and actually finish construction. That would include design. That's a pretty aggressive timeline, to tell you the truth. So the thing is I'm not sure if Judd can go in there and start doing any construction on that north side with the power pole in the way. I'm sure they could do some. But as Ben and I have been talking about, we're a little concerned about the demobilization. They've got 50,000 cubic yards is what they're anticipating. They just barely flew with their drone, that they figure on that south side, and then they will be done. And you can kind of see this was flown 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
A lot more has been done on that south side, quite a bit more actually. And they've actually blasted that ledge off there where you can see the track hose sitting right now on the upper level. Anyway, with that, coming back to that pole, that power pole, is they probably could not start to do a whole lot of excavation on that north side without the pole gone. If it takes us 4 months minimum to get that pole out of there, they can't start even doing a lot of the major excavation as quickly as they'd like to get that cut done. So that is one of our take backs to our next meeting that we're going to have. UDOT pushed that with the idea. There's been a few things that we're just still waiting for, such as engineers' costs, as well as estimates of possibly what that cost would be. And why we're looking at that is because leaving the power pole will leave a little peninsula that comes out, protecting or would leave the pole in place. Rocky Mountain Power doesn't like that idea. UDOT doesn't like that idea. And if they said, well,
honestly, the city doesn't like that idea.
We don't like that either. So. And yeah, exactly. And if that comes back to it, there's sometime that's got to come down anyway.
Yeah.
If we can partner together and get that in a timely manner and fix that, it'd be a better scenario all overall with the entire project. So the big concern there is time. They have moved that meeting to the November 22nd. If you guys didn't get that email, that's when they've pushed that meeting to, and it'll be at the same place. But I think by that time we will have solid estimates from the engineers as well as possibly the contractors. We've gotten made more headway with the land acquisition as well, but that engineer's estimate will, or that engineer's cost will include doing a 4-lane build out of the parkway and then determining the additional properties that are needed by UDOT for the jurisdictional transfer. I don't know if you guys got any questions about that.
So does Judd, is he going to have to take all his equipment out then?
Yes, he would probably, so we're trying to get him to go work on the sand pocket. We're still waiting. There's our geotech engineer, AGEC.
We still haven't got a
We
letter.
still have not got a letter. We have not got those reports so UDOT let us start working on the south side without the full complete geotech report. They're still waiting for that document. They're still waiting for one on the north side, and they're waiting on one for the sand pocket. They're a little hesitant to give us the go-ahead on those, but later on in the meeting on those items, we thought it was appropriate for the city council to approve those change orders. And based on as soon as then UDOT has the go-ahead, they can sign those and away we go. We'll just go. Budget is still coming in right at budget as of now. So I think everything, I don't know if there's something additional that Ben would like to add there.
Just reinforce the fact that it's really unfortunate, this power solution is a great long-term solution, but it pushes the project back so much farther. Even just considering the power solution without a funding mechanism adds another, say, $100,000 in mobilization. So it was an idea that came up in that meeting, and it'll cost us time and money. Not us as a city, but us as the project expense.
And really this is because the peninsula has to go away. It's a temporary thing.
Yeah, and then it'll cost us money.
It'll cost us money in the future to remove it.
The amount of money it costs to engineer the peninsula, build the peninsula, and then tear the peninsula down, I'd rather take the money and put it into the power.
It's way worth spending $100,000 in mobilization.
Absolutely.
Because I think it was closer to 1.5 million for all that.
Well,
Yeah.
and if
something, if I remember
Judd,
right.
if Judd demobilizes and because they don't have work to do,
Right.
they can't do work, we've still got to maintain traffic control on that one end. We've still got these things that have to be maintained in
Right.
the meantime. And then basically we're kind of at the mercy of Judd to come back. He's already he's stated that he says, I'll get back as quick as I can, but he's got a lot of other jobs that he can put that iron on and be, make money at it. So,
Yeah, it's gonna,
he hasn't said, no, I'm not going to come back for a year or anything like
Right.
that. He's just saying, if once I leave, it's hard for me to get back here in a
yeah.
couple of week time frame. It's going to be more like a month or two getting back, or maybe even a little bit more.
Yeah.
So that's
Well, let's
that's
see if
the
we can,
unfortunate.
let's get some,
If we
engineer
could,
plans
if
on
we,
the
so yeah, but
power
by,
line. Maybe we get Judd doing
I think they'll be.
something else, so.
I think they're going to be really pushing close to finishing up by that meeting time. If we could
Okay.
get that sand pocket
Yeah.
approved, if we could get our geotech to get that report to them, and Bob is working on that. He's almost every day. He either texts, calls, whatever. He called in this morning. I talked with Bob, and Bob just says, "Do you realize the importance of this?" And he says, "Yes, I do. I'm just extremely busy." So
I'll bite my tongue. All right.
I know.
It was good, Darren, to see that,
One sec. What was that? Chuck was
We have a
talking.
meeting tomorrow.
It is not. Bob is up at the UDOT conference this week.
Okay.
So he postponed it.
it was good, Darren, to see that they finally lowered the speed limit to 40 on the
Yeah.
south end there. I don't know why
That
it took
was
so
good.
long.
Both sides,
But
yeah.
Yeah,
it
so there was, they had those there at the very beginning. They had them there just on the poles. I saw them there.
Okay, well, I
They weren't on the
I
side.
asked about it a number of times
Right.
over the last, however long it's taken us
Well,
to
so
work this project. but
within the
it's
last week, we
good to see
pushed
that
really, really
they
hard.
finally did it.
We pushed really hard to get the ones on the side of the road.
Okay.
And so they did them. But yeah, they had them on they did have them there at the very start of and then it got wiped out and they did,
Never
and
got
it was not to UDOT standards.
Okay.
The sign color was not to UDOT standards. It was actually on one of the cones as you first come in.
So
But
it's
but
good.
it's a better
better
scenario because they have two, hey, it's 40 miles an hour, and then a little bit later, hey, it's 40 miles an
Yes.
hour again within probably about a 250-foot span.
Yeah.
On both sides.
On
So
both
yeah,
sides.
it
It's
is.
a lot better. It
Yeah,
is.
so that's good to see.
It is.
So thank you for that.
More questions
welcome.
about this portion of the bypass? All right, thanks, Darren. We're going to move on to Planning Commission Chair Val Pressler.
Hello. Okay, Planning Commission will be working on the subdivision ordinance. We are still waiting for legal to get it back to Emily, but she was being proactive and decided to send out the public notice so that it can be on our meeting, on our agenda next week. So we will try and work hard on that and get it to you guys, because I know we're under a time limit there. So also Emily's working on the annexation policy, and we'll probably have that on our December meeting schedule. And we are continuing to work on our policies and procedures manual. And we're kind of getting to the end of that. So we've been doing some good work there.
Great. Any questions for Val?
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to Planning and Zoning Administrator / Recorder,
Yep.
Emily.
So I'll just echo what Val said about subdivision and annexation policy. You also should see that camping, time limited parking, pending a legal review, hopefully at the next meeting or shortly after that. I also anticipate making changes to our code regarding the walls and fencing and the commercial site plan process as soon as we get that annexation policy and subdivision ordinance through. And then on behalf of my deputy recorder, Mary, and the Public Works Department, I have an update that they sent me on the cross connection program, just to kind of put everyone in the know, answer any questions that you have. All residents should have received a survey either by email or snail mail with a hazard assessment. They had the option to reply to that by using the QR code on it. And if anyone's unable to do that, they're welcome to come into the office and Mary can help them do that on the iPad. Altogether, 722 letters were sent out, 509 were by email, and 213 were by mail. So they hope to have as many responses as they can get by the first week in December. And then shortly after that, they'd like to host a town hall meeting for residents to come in, ask questions about it, get help finishing the survey, and then to just do some education on cross connection and backflow. They haven't solidified the date for that yet, so hopefully at the next meeting I can actually give you a date for that. And then after all of that, based on responses to those surveys that residents submit, they may receive a second letter, probably early next year, and that will just give them details of any action that needs to be taken to bring them into compliance based on their answers. So if anyone has any other questions on that, I can try to answer them or bring those answers back next time from Mary.
So I've got a copy of the letter here in front of me. I'm concerned about citizens in the city that are over 60 years old or not accustomed to using a computer. They might not even know what a QR code is. And so it doesn't invite them to come into the city and do it on the letter. So if you're going to do a second letter down the road to those that didn't respond to the first one, I would invite them to come in if they're struggling with something like this.
Gary, I'll come over and help you with the
Yep, I'll tell them.
I wasn't talking about me.
We have had a lot come in, and
Oh,
she's
have
helped
you?
them, so
Okay.
that's good.
So what is a QR code? No. So yeah, I just was worried about our elderly folks. so.
That's fair. I'll let her know. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Emily. Anybody have any questions for Emily? This is going great. All right, we are back to Darren Lefevre as Assistant City Manager and not the Bypass King or Czar. What do we call you?
Bypass King. Wow. I'll just give you a quick updates about the engineering projects we have. Right now, we are currently waiting for Boulder Ridge, their final plat. They brought in a bond, the irrevocable letter of credit for the grading processes. So they should be able to be starting there next week with the processes of grading. And they are actually going to record the final plat shortly thereafter, but they are trying to get all the information correct and brought up to everything. They have their engineer's estimate, plus they have their actual bid from the contractor. So we base all of that on those numbers. They have their SWIP in place. They have all the different documents that they have to do that. So we should be seeing some activity start there. The IME automations, we are currently in the middle of reviewing their construction plans. They too opted to do a grading permit first. So you'll see them right there. They're just right there as you're getting on the freeway. You'll see a little bit of grading activity going on. They're grading their first phase and second phase, moving dirt. They went through all the processes as well as part of our grading permit process. All the documents that were there, and they've also posted their bond for their grading permit. So we're getting a little bit of revenue from grading permits. So those two projects right there are the bulk of it. Sapp Brothers, the truck stop is actually the stoplight. UDOT has approved the plans, conditional upon that they can figure out the parts, and we probably have a little bit of a report on that maybe next month. The actual parts to build the stoplight.
Right.
As you remember, you guys gave them a municipal exception to start building and start putting in infrastructure before that was approved. We're very close to having that process done. And so we're working towards that.
Let's go back to that intersection real quick. Do we have everything for the natural gas to go through there? I mean, before we get into putting the lights in, do we have that figured out?
So natural gas, they've got the easement from everybody. I think they've got the water district, and they have, the Sapp Brothers has a 10-foot PUE on their property. They're going to plan on just going down that. It's when they come across that intersection, I can't remember that property owner's name, but they're still trying to work with them to get an easement across that property.
Okay.
If they do that, then they're right into the parkway right of way. So
Okay.
there's one.
I just
one-
wanted to see the power, the gas in before they start digging everything up and putting the lights and stuff in. So I'm just
Yeah.
hoping we can get that timed right.
I don't have a timeline from the contractor at Sapp Brothers, but
Okay.
for starting the construction, but they don't have the parts to start
Right,
building it
right.
yet. They don't have the infrastructure such. They do have power stub down there from Rocky Mountain Power. The poles are at, the power is actually, the main line is coming from the old Highway 91 down the new Highway 91, which they've installed underground, and they've got vaults and things put in right now. You can see out there. But yeah, there's street lights as part of that project, as well as
Traffic light.
that traffic light. But the traffic light, there's specialty items in that UDOT requires, and a lot of the people that build them, or a lot of the developers and things that are required to build those, just work with the city and UDOT to get those parts.
All right.
So, yep.
Every year, about this time, we get a notice. It's usually on our website that says when the cutoff dates are for the water, when it's going to get shut off.
Water,
It usually comes from the Washington County Water Conservancy District sends that out. It used to be Julie. I think it's Mindy Mees is the email that you'll get from now, right? You guys are on the
Yep.
board. It'll be Mindy Mees should be sending that out, and it's usually November 1st is when they usually shut that off, or very shortly thereafter.
So if we get it, can we post it on our website so that other folks can see it?
Yeah, we usually do. We usually talk about that. It's always a little bit variable because I don't know exactly why.
Good weather.
Depends on the weather, I
Yeah.
do suppose. Yeah.
Last year we did December 1st.
yeah,
Yeah.
we pushed it back. It was so dry and
It was so
warm.
dry. Yeah, exactly. And they pushed it back a month.
Anything else for Darren? Perfect. We're going to move on to our city manager, Ben Billingsley.
Yeah, just a few items. I did want to provide some clarification for the subdivision ordinance legal review. Is that I just wanted to clarify that that's not with our current city attorney. That's with our prior city attorney, as that work was initiated a month ago. Just wanted to provide clarification on that. We also met with our new city attorneys, Bruce and Kayla, and had a great kind of introduction meeting where we went over all of the current legal matters, pending legal matters. Really excited to work with both of them. We've already had some quick turnaround times on review work and just really appreciate everything that they're doing. So
How long was the list? Like 10, 100, what?
once you put it to paper, it's a little bit more scary than you
Yeah.
thought it was going into it. Yeah. But everything that's been urgent, I've had fast turnaround on. So really appreciate that. Because of the fiscal year versus the fiscal year difference between the special service districts and the city, Ash Creek is going through their budgeting process, and Mike had requested that we provide an update to the capital facilities planning for the city. And so that was a good time for me to refresh on that. So I spent a lot of time with JD and Darren kind of going through that, refining it, updating it with projects that have been completed. And so that's one of those things that just you never make time to do, but we made time to do, and it's kind of ready to go for city council review early next year. So that spent a lot of time working on our capital facilities planning. I also spent a lot of time on the accounting for the two major projects, the Parkway and the water tank. Darren mentioned that is within budget. Both of them are. So that's pretty exciting news that there's no funding concerns with both of those projects as of right now. That doesn't include the power consideration that we were talking about. So Darren and I will both be out of the office here tomorrow and the next day for a city manager conference. So kind of some exciting training happening. I also wanted to mention a new format for our agenda item sheets. Emily, would you mind pulling up maybe the first agenda item sheet for, let's see, what's our first action item? And then zoom in on that. So it looks very similar, but I think that it's simplified a little bit. So the item title, who's presenting it, attachments. Then options, this is kind of a new section where basically the options for council are typically going to be approve, table, or deny. But in addition to that, we wanted to provide what the basis or implications of each of those decisions would be. So if you approve it, that's what this means. If you deny it, that's what that would mean. Tabling is typically going to be, pretty standard. You're looking for additional information. We're providing possible motion for approval. This isn't to lead the council in language, just sometimes some of the language or resolutions can be a little bit clunky. And so if desired, the council can pull this up, and that will always be recommendation, or not a recommendation, but the language that could be used for approval. And then obviously the background, this is where we provide all of the context and history on an agenda item. So if you noticed in your agenda packets, each of the council agendas items might have looked a little bit differently this week, and that's why. I'm always open to suggestions on the language that we're using or how we're presenting that, but hopefully that provides a little bit more clarity on agenda items moving into the future. Yeah.
I love it.
Great. Thank you for the feedback.
One thing that you guys you'd asked for recently was the type of the staff reports or staff
Comments.
topics.
Yeah.
Staff notes. And that background would be the place where we'd put that. So you'd look for staff comments there.
And there's the question, as to whether or not staff makes a recommendation. That can go both directions. Sometimes councils want to see a staff recommendation. Sometimes they'd prefer not, so as to allow the kind of liberty of freedom of decision making. But just know, we're open to that, whether you'd like to see recommendations or not. It's open to that. So
We've in the past always gotten a recommendation from the planning commission. Is that something we want to continue doing?
Well, this might be a little different, more of staff. Some of these items are staff items and not planning commission.
Because if we came in as staff and said, hey, this application is complete and it meets all of the dots all the I's and crosses all the T's, we would recommend approval.
Mm-hmm.
Some people feel like that's leading you guys or the planning commission. Other people are just fine with it. So I've opted personally just to put, hey, it is complete. If there's any questions, it's up to you guys to determine to make your decision or your motion.
Okay. Yeah, I think we'll keep it the way it is for now. If we want to start getting some comments or your opinions, then we'll ask.
yeah,
We change
and
it.
always also welcome to that question in the
In the
meeting.
meeting, absolutely. Beautiful.
That's all.
That's it?
Mhm.
Outstanding. All right, we are on to city representative reports. I pretty much already talked about Hurricane Valley Fire and Ash Creek, DTEC, it's our transportation. All that's just moving right along. We talk a lot about the freeway off ramps in St. George are adding. They're going to do another one between 4 and 6, I believe. Is that, yeah, between 4 and 6, they're going to put their off ramp.
Basically,
Seven
right there
South.
by the university.
Yeah, we're talking about a new off ramp and on ramp there. Lots of talk about those walls that put up along Washington. And if when they do the new off ramp, they're probably going to put them up along St. George as well, down there in the bottom of the valley. So that's a lot of comment on that. The MPO, it's basically like DTAC, but it's a county run, and that's basically the same thing about roads and so that's all pretty good. Joey, is there anything you'd like to add for Ash Creek?
The only thing I think that Matt missed is that we did approve the 2025 budget, correct? For the sewer district?
Not the official budget.
That was the tentative
proposed-
budget.
The
Yeah, they have
proposed
to-
budget. And we
Yeah.
reviewed the 2024 third quarter budget and
Yeah.
so we spent a
I
lot
think
of time
next,
on that
in
and
December, we'll approve that budget. Yeah, they have to have an open hearing and then,
have
yeah.
the actual budget, yeah.
Yep. So, anything else?
Nope.
Todd, how is our solid waste and our mosquitoes doing?
The mosquito abatement, there was no West Nile virus activity this year. There was like 10
Nice.
last year, so that's good. The tentative budget we're working on next week or the week after for the mosquito. Washington County solid waste. There is a contract with Republic that was signed in 2021. It's a 10-year contract. Every year it's at 2.5% collection fee raise, so that was continuing. So it,
Yeah, and they're probably not very happy the last 2 years with that 2.5%.
Republic was not
Yeah,
very happy
yeah, I
with
remember.
it, correct. That is correct. So, it's not, it's not a whole lot of money. It's gone up to, it's like $13.48 for the garbage collection, and it's $6.25 for the blue can, and that's not counting the administrative fees, but.
Yeah.
So,
The city adds $1, $2. Okay.
yeah, so
For billing and collecting.
Yeah. that's it.
All right. Any questions for Todd on this mosquito season's over pretty much? So
Pretty much.
Sean does a great job over there.
Sean,
The size of the budget they have, that's minuscule for a minuscule bug, but they do a wonderful thing with the amount of money they have.
It's amazing how well they
Yep.
do and how efficient they are with all their, all the stuff that they do.
Yeah, they do a really good job. Well, thank you. All right, we're gonna move on. Go ahead.
Did we lose the battle on Blue Can as far as every year if somebody wants to check out?
Yeah,
Did we
it's
lose that
pretty
battle?
tough.
All right.
It's pretty tough to
Just
get out.
just didn't know if it was still available or not.
It's every 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
All right.
you remember that band, The Fight? And, I honestly, I wish the blue can would go away. Because I don't want to get that discussion, but it's just a waste of money everywhere and everything.
Well, we negotiated it differently and it
Yeah.
just looks like it
Yep.
just went nowhere.
All right, we're going to move into our public forum. If there's any here from the public who'd like to speak, Vern, you good? You're going to be later, right? Okay, all right. Well, we're going to close our public forum and move into our business items. So we're going to start off with item G1, discuss some possible action on waiving the town hall reservation fees for readiness meetings, the 2024-2025 schedule. There's a schedule up there on the board. We've waived this in the past. We're putting it back up and see what you guys want to do.
That's a no-brainer. That helps the city and everybody here.
So,
That's something that's,
Make a motion then.
all right.
yeah.
I'm not going to follow this exactly here. I'll make a motion that we waive the town hall rental fees for Leif Bjornson for his readiness meetings, 5 meetings between November 24 and March 25th.
I have a motion
I'll second that.
and a second. Any discussion on this item?
I would like to have a small discussion
Yeah.
that we should possibly talk to them about associating the city with anything in conjunction with it, because we're just allowing them a place to have their meeting. The city has no commitment, no connection with the readiness meeting. It's simply just a building, and I think someone needs to make sure that that's known. There's just zero connection.
Right. The city's not liable or responsible for anything that goes on in that meeting.
Like a waiver or something?
Well, no, just that there's been some comments that the city may be part of something to do with that, and I just want to make sure that no one is under the impression that the city has anything to do with the meetings. It's just they can use the building, and that's it. So,
Okay?
Yeah.
Do we want to revise the motion?
nope, just kind of a comment.
Yeah. I shouldn't have got a-
Previously, the meetings that I have attended previously, they have made that announcement. That
Yeah, it's,
that they're using the building. It's not sponsored by the city. So I'm not sure recently, but the previous ones that I attended.
all right. Any more discussion on this item? All right, I'm ready to take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we are going to move on to item G2, discuss the possible action on the Tocqueville City Culinary Water Master Plan. This is you, Vern. Been waiting for you all evening.
All right. I don't know, there's a whole lot to say on this. We've talked about it mostly before, that really the bottom line for you on this one is what we're showing in this study is that there's not enough water available right now to accommodate all the growth that's coming. We're showing that you're going to be short real soon here. I can look at the graphs here, but so we need to, in there, we make a recommendation, we start talking to the Water Conservancy District right away, so we can kind of figure out where the water can come from. That wasn't part of the study.
Yeah, we've got,
Okay.
yeah.
And then, of course, the impact fees that are recommendations that are in this are based on trying to collect the water through rates. So they're not really applicable. We know that until we can, figure out where the water's coming
So
from.
when you state we're out of water, we're not out of water, but our water rights are getting to the point where they're at peak out.
Right.
There is other water readily available.
Yes.
To continue on, but it is owned by the water district. That's why the suggestion is that we need to start talking with the water district.
Right. And we do have an agreement with the water district. And I believe
Regional water supply, part of that regional water supply
Yeah.
agreement continues to help us to have water for for the continued growth.
Well, when you mention partnership with the water district, there's two different options that I think I see in this draft. One is for the water district to set up a whole entire setup for Firelight and handle that. The residents in that area would have a direct relationship with the water district rather than the city. And the second one is for us to purchase water from the water district to supply for Firelight. Is that correct? Is that the way I've seen in the?
That's kind of what we were proposing as being a potential solution. We don't know
So
how
the
the
water-
district
but
feels
the- but
about
the-
that or whether that would be.
The water district does not sell water to residents.
Yeah.
They sell water, they
Then I
wholesale
must have
water.
misread the draft because the draft kind of looked like there would be two separate kind of entities here with respect to the bypass being the dividing point.
Yeah, they wouldn't supply water to residents.
You are correct. The two proposals essentially
Yeah.
say, do you want to segregate the systems?
Right.
Do you have one dedicated system for Firelight, or is it an interconnected system?
It's interconnected. That's what we want. That way we can
And so,
use.
yeah, I'm proposing that it comes through the city.
Oh, absolutely.
All of it.
What it has to do, but like the district won't sell water to individuals. They just won't do it. So it has to go through the city municipal.
So to be clear, the recommendation wasn't that the district would
Districts.
sell it directly, would be the city owned the whole system, but that you keep this water and this water separate.
Right. And
Is
I,
a possibility.
and I think we've talked in the past, I think maybe in there we have two rates for, so as people move into Firelight, they have a higher water rate than the people that are already in town. So as we buy water from the water district at a higher rate than what we're producing it, the new citizens have a higher rate than the citizens that are here now.
And just so you know, this study does not, we would need to do an additional analysis study to determine the actual cost, because we can't charge more than what our cost is. We can't
Right.
just go pick a number out of the sky and.
Right, and that's once
This is it.
we start buying water from the district, then we'll know.
Yeah, you've got
how
the
many-
costs, you have to buy it from them and then you have to, what it costs us to get the water over to that side of the town.
Yeah.
Those different types of
And I
things.
suspect there'll be some infrastructure that will be required from the district's system into this
Yeah.
one.
Is that
What's there now
split
won't
system
supply
you're talking
anymore.
about? No. Because you have a split scenario in here too.
Yeah, I think either way, the pipeline, the size of the pipe that's coming in from the district, without looking at without studying it, putting in the study, I'm not sure that the pipe that we're using right now to access water from the district will be sufficient for the build out scenario where we're using that much water.
So in the future, we might have to upsize
The pipe.
the pipe.
Yeah, new infrastructure for that.
So yeah, here's what I read on section 3, item number 1, it says the RWSA in place provides additional water to the city if needed. Okay, and that's one thing. But the next sentence says the city could also launch a study to split the culinary water system by keeping the existing system to provide water to the current connections and creating a new system in the new development areas that will be sourced from acquiring additional water from Washington County Water Conservancy District.
That's on page 13.
That's on page 13, yeah. So I just wanted to clarify, it looks like there are two options kind of combined in that number 1, and I wanted to clarify with the council if our direction is just to have the district provide the additional water that we need, rather than having a split system.
Yeah, I don't recommend it. The way our system's set up.
The way we're set right now, we deliver water to that other side of Westfield. That water is pumped over here at Springs, and it is gravity fed over to our system over there to the new pumps that are put in. So there's additional infrastructure that's going in, but it's there's not like this pipe that just takes it from the Springs over to that system. And the district has no infrastructure at this point,
Right.
to do that. Maybe in the future, but
Well, and
Well, I think there's a cost that was indicated on there, $900 some odd thousand for that portion of it on your fee thing. And so does that represent the split system, or does that represent just the additional cost for the water from the district wholesale?
I think the biggest thing that we really got to focus on to make it even more simplified is that once we start exceeding the amount of water that Tokerville has, we need to really start looking at the costs that are associated with the purchase of the additional water needed for the new subdivisions.
Right.
And then decide how we're going to, recuperate that cost, whether it's a higher tax or a higher water rate in them, with the proper way to do it and everything. But I think that's what the gist of the thing is that we just got to pay attention to when we start exceeding our limits, that additional cost is going to cost us more than our current rates are to acquire the water.
yeah, and right now we are set up to when we exceed that water right that we have. Basically, we will start buying water wholesale from the water district at a price per 1,000 gallons.
So at that point, Darren, how do you pick, or how do you decide when you decide to need that water?
Yeah.
The new district out there needs to pay for that,
Yep.
not this
Right.
whole part of town.
I think that would be a
That's
better
where
way to
that-
say split.
That's where that other
I'm
city.
trying to follow
These
that
guys
here.
aren't
I'm not
really-
Don't we
against
have
it.
that? We have that in writing in, I remember one of the development
Development
agreement
agreement?
that says
Is it
once
the
we
MPDO?
exceed,
No, it's not. It can't be.
No.
It's not an MPDO. I don't know of that document.
Yeah, I remember seeing that years ago, that when we exceed our water, the new,
Oh, yeah.
the new,
Sort
we
of,
have,
yeah,
we
that
have a
was-
second
yeah.
water rate, a
That-
higher
that's-
water rate.
It's a whole different deal.
Yeah.
There's gonna have to be a meter put in somewhere to where we can determine how much is coming out of. There's some things, but like I say, this water master plan is a result. It's kind of like the general plan to other, as we nail it down and become, okay, here's gonna be the infrastructure that was gonna need to be built to have that on a separate system or a separate fee. It's not gonna be on a separate system. Right now, it's not on a separate system. The water that goes into that 2 million gallon tank out there comes from our spring.
Right.
And it comes through our system.
And if we need our tanks to be offline, if that's full, then we can backfeed into town. I mean, it's just an awesome extra resource for us to have
That's
water.
extra storage.
throughout the
It's
town,
it doubles
Yeah.
our storage that we have right now.
Exactly.
Well,
So
isn't this just merely guidelines?
Yes. Well,
It's like our general plan.
The intent's to be a little more than guidelines.
There's a lot of options.
Because we're trying to do an impact fee.
Yeah.
But in this case, because there's some other things to be figured out, the impact fees that are in here, this analysis is not really what we want to do. We did analysis based on trying to go get your own water rights separate from the district, which is very cost prohibitive. And then the other option of bringing it from the district, there's just too many unknowns right now. We haven't sat down with the district to work out with them how that's going to work. So there needs to be some more conversation there to figure out how that
Yeah.
process is going to work before we can figure out what those exact costs are to establish that impact fee.
yeah, we've also got the TSWS system that we've got to coordinate at the same time.
I'm looking, this looked to me more like an analysis more than anything else, because there are different options. When you have a plan, there's basically one option and you're going forward with it. Here, this is an analysis. So I'm wondering kind of what we're voting for as a council. Because, if we vote on this plan, the plan doesn't define which direction we're taking.
At least, that kind of lets us pick and choose as we go, as we grow. We don't know exactly what we need or how we're going to get there. But this is a guideline of which we might pick this plan, but this one and this one or this one and combine them and make it work.
So if we had a direction on this, we would have a list of projects that we say are needed, and we'd have a list of, we'd say they're needed in these timeframes. But you would still have the option and the ability to say, we're going to do this project right now, not this project. So even if there is, even if this plan was one direction and cut and dried, you would still have some flexibility on how you implement the plan.
And it's like the 2 million gallon tank we got now, that was on our 10-year plan, and we ended up building it because all of a sudden there was a need and we had the money, we got grants, so that was kind of it was there, but we really weren't planning on doing it yet. So it's similar to what Vern said, we've got the plan, we've got ideas how to do things. I think there's too many unknowns to nail it down
Well,
hard.
that's what I was going to, if this is just a plan and there are options like you're saying that we can select, that's one thing. But in my opinion, basically the timing of this, I know 3 years from now, we're going to have a reservoir, we're going to have the reuse water available as well, and we're going to have a 2 million gallon tank added. You got those three factors that'll have a significant impact because the irrigation usage of potable on those that don't have irrigation, there's a factor there as well. So I'm thinking that we need to revisit this thing 3 years from now, once those other factors or components are here, and then we can modify this. So that's what I'm thinking. I mean, this looks like a good analysis. We know what we're up against. We have the options there. And, but I just want to make sure it's revisable down the road if we need to revise it based on.
He would love us to do it every 3 years. Yeah, he would love us to write a check every 3 years.
The next time we get a grant, we'll do it again.
I think that the analysis, some of that analysis needs to start sooner than later, because depending on how fast Firelight grows, you're going to run out of water potentially sooner than later. So rather than say, I think this plan where we're at now has kind of shown us where we have the needs, where some of the weak points are, and at this point, I think we need the real solution would be take what we know now and kind of start the conversations with the Conservancy District, start looking at how that infrastructure would look based on how they can deliver it, where they plan on delivering it, those kinds of things. And then also you can look at the TSWS stuff and how that impacts your culinary use with the secondary
that's
water
another
as well. That
component
wasn't
too,
part
yeah.
of this plan,
Yeah.
but you could make it part of the next step.
So are you recommending or not recommending the $3.03 increase? Because it's saying we're okay at the 55 right now, but should we go to the 58 and start banking a little bit of that?
So that's the math that we came up to shows that there's, in order to maintain the current status quo, that there needs to be a little bit more money on those user rates, or it has to come from somewhere else.
Did I see in here it was like 2.5% a year? Did I see that in the rates?
Yeah, we generally recommend that you raise rates every year to try and combat inflation, and we put that.
Or instead of
in every
waiting
plan.
5 years from now and then
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
hitting them with the really large rate.
Right.
Justin loves
We
that.
didn't like
Yeah, I hate that.
So when I look at the options, you got the fire department.
Well, fire department, we did it with the Tocqueville City Water last time.
Property tax.
We did it with the solid waste. We've done it with sewer district. We got to start doing the small incremental every year increase instead of the wait 4 years and then do a $10 or $15 hike on a small,
Yeah, we did more than that. 2021, we raised it, and we raised it like significantly.
We did, because it wasn't raised for 12 years before
No.
that, so.
Adding $3 every year to that would be a little excessive.
And you guys aren't the only one. I mean, that
Right.
with lots of
It'd be like,
towns
it'd
do
be
that.
nice to be ahead of the game just a little bit,
But we want to be fair.
but fair, but just a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
The 303 is a,
So-
that's a.
so by-
that
by
gains- we banked some at $3 raise, but
By adopting this is not.
It's not a price.
This is not
a-
increasing your rates.
Yeah, this is not a rate increase.
This is not a rate increase.
To
This
to
is not
increase the
study
rate,
for
we
that.
have to go through the whole
No,
system,
this is
but
just-
I,
that's
exactly.
suggested, yeah.
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 Yeah, and that's something we need to talk about. Maybe we'll put on the agenda the first of the year, talk about a small rate increase, and we can set it at that time.
Well, you do
To
have to
have-
have it, you do have to have a study before you can just raise the rate.
Well,
You
does
have to
this study
justify it.
not, this study won't cover our rate increase study, Vern?
No, you they can't raise rates based on this study, a water master plan.
I'll have to,
I don't-
Yeah, check
I don't-
into that.
I'll have to look
I'm
into that.
almost sure you
I don't want to
can't,
answer that
but-
question right now.
Okay, check into that, because I would love to be able
I'd
to.
say I'm 95% sure you can't. but-
Okay.
But I could be a little bit wrong there.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
let's-
just, he's giving us the guidelines of where we need to be to put a little away and pay for cost. So it's not, I mean,
Because
If you
usually
wanted a
you,
rate
usually you have a rate
increase,
structure. When you do that, you have a rate structure that is proposed from your consultant of multiple fixes and different
Right.
ways to do
We
this.
do have that in
Specifically for
here,
the culinary.
Some,
Yeah, that-
some different rate structures in here about.
Let's look into that,
Base
Vern. I would
rates,
love to, if we could use this and the first year, talk about a rate increase on the water. And in that rate increase, I'd like to get some verbiage that every year we have the option. We don't have to use that option. That's what we have at the sewer district. Every year we have an option to raise 2.5% a year without having to go through the rate study every year.
Well,
And that's some stuff we can put into that verbiage.
Yeah, that's generally an ordinance where you pass that the
Yep.
rates will increase by a certain amount.
So on page 13, item number 3, for the city to go out and purchase additional water rights, I think we're shooting ourselves in the foot with the water district if we did that. So I see item number 3 not being a viable solution there. And
So on that thought, is item number 2 a viable solution, which is having the
You know-
developers provide water rights?
no, I want to go with number 1, except for the fact that I don't want to have a split system. We're just going to have the district provide additional water, and then number 4, the reuse water coming in. That's what I'm looking at, and so if
For
we're making
number-
a plan, that's
Right.
my recommendation, that we proceed that way.
Now, is that something we have to change in the plan? It's in the, it's
I
in
don't
the
know.
plan. I think we
Yeah.
can adopt the plan and pick and choose. Like you said, we don't have to do everything exactly the way it's planned out, but it gives us guidelines on how to get there.
Do you have any
And if I'm-
comment on that?
Yeah, in my view, this plan would be advisory, so it wouldn't be binding, but you could implement rules or different changes based on this plan, so long as they're consistent with the plan.
So we're voting to adopt the plan.
Yeah. Yep.
And we'll have flexibility.
And number 2, Vern?
Number 2, the thing with number 2 is that will apply to developers getting new permits and in the
Right,
future.
future.
It doesn't apply to some of the development activity that's already occurring that's causing some of your existing
If,
shortage.
okay. If
Or
the-
not existing shortage, but forthcoming soon shortage.
Okay, if number 2 is used, is the city still entitled to impact fees?
Not for the water right. And that portion of the impact fee would go away. So your impact fee covers a whole bunch of stuff. There's a big
Right.
calculation. That portion of the calculation would be pulled out of the impact fee.
Okay.
Or does that, we pay that towards the Water Conservancy District? That portion of, do we, as we say Firelight and the impact fees for water, we're buying water at that time from the district. Do we pay that money to the district to cover the actual water portion?
So impact fees are calculated. The way that's calculated is we say, all right, this is a project you need, it costs this much. This is a project, and here are the water rights you need to purchase. If you're not purchasing those
Right.
water rights because the developer's bringing it, that portion
Oh,
of
if
the
the
money
developer
is
brings it,
removed
right.
from the calculation.
For that developer? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my bad.
So one more question, this could be kind of a dumb question, but with the $2 million gallon tank, it shows we have more than sufficient water needs, even for the next 20 years, okay? So why are we having to do something with this north tank over here? Why do we need to spend the money to replace that or to move it or keep it functional?
The real quick answer to that is because it's cheaper to pump the water up to that tank and gravity flow out to there than it is to pump it from there all the way up to there.
Okay.
So,
It also provides additional system redundancy.
yeah.
Okay.
And gives you
Pressure.
adequate flows and pressures at that upper end of the system that might require some changes to try and backfeed from this. to-
Right, and also another, just right now, if let's say that tank went offline, we'd be pumping water through our system to the other tanks, which is a lot of,
Okay, so we need to pursue
Tear, wear
that
and tear.
project, but it's $3.8 million. So we're going to have to look for some way to get some help on that.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Grants and that's why we have Ben.
Okay.
I'll work on that.
How big of a tank they proposed up
That's
there?
an answer next week.
Yeah.
How big of a tank are they proposing up there?
I think they're just relocating it.
Yeah, in the plan, we just talk about building a
Same
new
size.
Same size tank on the property that
Yeah.
you own,
Be
not
on
on
a-
BLM property.
be on water district property.
How if we're gonna build it, we might as well build a bigger one, isn't it?
Now, we'll check the price at the time. Yeah, when we do that, we'll definitely study that. And yeah.
Okay.
Anything else? You guys got any questions for Vern? All right, I need a motion. Which way are we going?
Well, it's just merely guidelines, so it can't hurt to adopt it.
I agree.
You don't have to use it.
But you can't adopt like rules or regulations that are contrary to it.
Contrary.
Does that make sense? So it's merely advisory, but you can't adopt anything that contradicts it. You would have to amend it later if you wanted to adopt something that didn't jive
Doesn't
with
fit.
this document.
Yeah. But it's an amendment, not a start over. So,
And maybe this would be a question for her, but the impact, adopting I think what you're saying is you want to adopt the plan, not the impact.
not the
fee.
impact fees, not the rate studies. Those are things we can't adopt with the plan. So it's just the plan itself.
So if I move to go ahead and approve, allowing the city to move forward with the essential modifications to address anticipated growth, future water demands, and infrastructure needs.
What?
Is there anything else I need to add to that?
Did you get that right off there?
Second. Did. So me, that's
They got a-
really good, Gary. I'm glad you pulled that right out. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the master water plan?
Can we hear the motion again?
You can read it.
Is that what you,
Yes.
did you read it directly off of that?
Yeah.
Or did you adapt it?
No.
You didn't adapt, you just read it off.
I didn't do the whole thing.
Okay, that's what
I didn't read the whole thing, but I read enough.
Just a
comma. Just enough to make me sound smart.
Okay.
But anything we want to do, we have to amend it.
If it's contrary to that.
Everybody,
Yeah.
amen, or do we have
Yep.
to say?
It's just more.
And
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you, Vern.
Okay.
Have a good evening.
I'll sign it and stamp it and get it back to you.
Okay.
Thanks for your time. Yeah, thank you.
All right, item G3, discuss the possible action on Washington County Water Conservancy District reuse authorization contract. So we signed a contract 4 months ago stating that they needed a city to sign that so they go to the state and get some permits. So they've done that, and this is now the contract that all cities that are participating in the reuse program are signing.
This was in front of us 2 weeks ago and basically just need to go to legal review
Yep.
and you guys are good with it?
So we were asked to review this. Essentially, the same form was circulated to all the municipalities around here. And just to provide our comments as to any potential concerns that we see with it. It sounds like you guys are familiar with the basic background on this contract. Is that right? Okay. So I'll just dive into potential issues that we spotted. So one of our concerns is paragraph 6, which deals with construction. This paragraph, as it currently reads, appears to obligate the city to provide upgrades to its future phases of its own municipal system, but it's not entirely clear what that entails, like what's involved in the future phases, how extensive is that, et cetera. So we would suggest amending this, or, just creating a red line that explains exactly what that can mean, or discussing that with the district in further detail. Another point of concern is paragraph 9, which talks about the delivery point of the reused water, and then the distinguishment between the end of the district's reuse facilities and the city's municipal system. And that's important because the city, under this agreement, is obligated to maintain everything that's part of its municipal system. So we want to make sure that's clearly defined, so we're not maintaining or bearing the cost of maintaining, replacing, and maintaining, repairing, and replacing something we don't want to be. So I think that's another point that needs to be talked about with the district. Paragraph 13 talks about the district's ability to submit change applications for the city's water rights. I think there needs to be a little more clarification there in terms of what that entails. So say that the district wants to use water that pertains to a certain water right. Should they be required to segregate that water right? Should they be allowed to affect water rights that they perhaps are not using as part of the reuse system? So all considerations that we should discuss further with the district in our view. I did call the district today and I talked with council. She didn't have an answer for me as to what this looks like on their end. So my plan was to follow up with their water law attorney who specifically can answer this question in greater
Do you
detail.
deal with Morgan, or who are you speaking?
Yeah, it was Morgan Gray. Yeah. I think that's essentially it as far as our concerns for this contract.
So
A timeline on this one?
I was just gonna say, let's table it. In my opinion, let's table this item. Let's have our attorney work with the water district, get some answers. I think those are great. Absolutely. That's why you're here.
Awesome.
Okay, so I've got
Do you have
a
any
couple of
issues with that?
other items, but
Absolutely.
should I just meet with Kayla privately and let
or
her know
just
my
say-
concerns and she can negate them or
Yeah, absolutely.
decide to
That'd be
follow up
great.
on them? That'll
Yeah.
save us some time tonight.
Sure.
And they did have your feedback as part of that initial review process. We forwarded that, your initial feedback. I believe there were 3 points.
I had some initial feedback
And-
originally, and you'll have to check YouTube for it because I can't remember.
There-
But I do have some new ones. and I
Great.
don't know if
Perfect.
there's some redundancy
Maybe they're
or
the
not.
same ones.
There was
It
the
could be.
question on
Did you-
timing as well.
Did you make a QR code, remember? for next week?
QR code.
Timing as well.
So I'll get with her and get some of these things clarified. It has to do, they talk about the fact that they're going to own, basically, we're letting them own those water rights. And there's a lot of things that they can do with them. And I'm just want to make sure, because they have different things in there with respect to the minimum amount that they have to provide us. So if there's a minimum they need to provide us, and then they're saying that they can take some of it if they need it.
Yeah.
It contradicts itself there. So I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about the 17% degradation. Where did that come from? They just pulled that number out of their butt. And I just feel like we need to have an audit condition in there to where that is audited. So I'll go over most of my stuff with Kayla then. And then the thing I'm concerned about though is we've got this, but then she said that other cities are providing input and there are going to be revisions to this.
Yeah.
So now we got Kayla looking at this, we're revising it, and then they're turning around and accepting our revisions or not, and then changing it all over again for everybody because it's going to be one uniform thing. So
Exactly.
I don't know if we're going to have any luck trying to change this thing or not, but the thing I'm worried about is I don't think we ought to vote on this until we have the final and not vote on the draft.
I agree.
So just a little background on it. So a number of cities have already voted and approved it. That doesn't mean that they can't go back and address it. Any changes I anticipate that the district would agree to based on our feedback would be in favor to all cities. It would benefit all cities, right? So I don't think that there would be any problem with if there are changes. The district is hoping to have this wrapped up by the end of the year. So we have 3 meetings we wanted to get it on the agenda to have plenty of time anticipating this sort of discussion. So I think the district's very open to this discussion and they're willing to work with us. Morgan's very available, and essentially we want to get it to a place where all parties feel good about it and agree on it.
Yeah, so at this point, I think it's critical just to get your input so I can voice it with the district and make sure your concerns are known so that they can hopefully address these issues in a final agreement.
Yeah, Tupperville doesn't lose any more water rights.
No.
We don't want to have a chance of having taken away, some legal thing or anything like that. So
Well, this is the water rights that we gain when we go to a reuse system.
It's all going downstream right now. I think
Yeah.
that's one thing that's important to remember.
All of the stuff that we flush, this is the water right we're talking about.
Yeah, that's a good term. You use downstream.
So, all right, so I'm looking for a motion to table.
I'll make a motion, we table it.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Okay, item G4, discuss the possible action on approving change order number 10 on the amount of $800,498.50 for JP Excavating for work items completed during construction have not yet been formally incorporated into this project. Darren, take it away.
Okay, so basically, these are items such as the Ash Creek Sewer District's manhole upsize, as well as they're making polymer manholes, different things such as that. They've already been incorporated. They're in the ground right now out there. Everything's been complete, both construction and the change orders. We received reimbursement from the water district. I don't know if we received them from the sewer district as of yet, have we? We have. No, we have not from the sewer district. The water district, I believe we did receive those. So anyway, basically those items were covered. The work is done. The detailed description is in your packets there, and Emily does have that on the screen if you have a little bit of a, can't see the ones on the screen in front of you. There's the bigger one in there, but so you can see those items. If you had any comments, questions, I can talk to them.
Any questions on item number 10?
Where was the addition of rock excavation from?
Back then it was the RockX in, I believe, when they were putting the water line from the it'll be the water line that feeds the reservoir, comes down to the existing pond, irrigation pond. When they were digging, they hit rock. There was additional excavation rock of that in the trenches.
This is JP work?
This is, I think
Some of this
I think
is
it's a combination of both.
William Charles and JP. This is old stuff.
This is a real
So
old
was there
one.
a rock clause in there? Was there a
I
rock clause
couldn't,
in
I
the
couldn't
contract?
tell you that. I'd need to ask Bob that question.
Huh?
I would need to ask Bob that question.
There's not a rock clause, I mean, then, you know, it's just, that was too hard for me to do, I want more money. That's where I have a hard time with some of this, because it's just exacerbated prices. And
So basically,
It's not
like
fair.
we could talk about these really quickly. Like you're seeing there was an 18-inch to the 12-inch active line. Went to a 18-inch line. There was a 4-inch lateral. Does any of those?
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about, right?
So this is saying that it was bid a different way. This is a difference in the increased quantity of RockX as outlined.
Correct.
So there was an increase in the difference. So it was obviously done as a
There was a
cubic yard or something, not as a, the way I read it is, they bid it and there was somebody else added additional to it or something, but
Yeah,
if I don't know.
don't know. Does anybody
Don't know.
know? There's so much that went on with Ray Charles and that back then, and so much stuff that didn't get
Oh,
done.
yeah, here you go. It was expected 193,161 yards and they did
Yeah, it was-
40,000 extra yards.
Yep. Thanks.
Who's the verifier on this?
This Bob, the
Same.
inspectors out
Bob
there.
would have to bring all
It would
these
not
to
just,
us.
it's basically the Stanley Consulting. It's not, when we say Bob, it's
Right.
Stanley Consultants and that entire team
Yeah,
of inspectors.
Bob's the boss, but yeah.
And they go out and verify, just like we do on any other city project. But
How old
Bob
is some of
is
this
the one that has been
So
contracted.
this is, back
verify this.
then, all the change orders weren't coming to the city council. Because they figured they were within the budget and within everything, they were just
And also what happened is that, so when Williams Charles left, all these items got moved to bid package B.
A lot of them did. The ones they didn't
Everything that
finish.
comes to bid package B has to be reapproved from the city council and UDOT back to JP.
Yeah.
So these are 90% William Charles.
That
cleaned up
JP's
by
doing.
JP or finished by JP.
It was actually finished by JP. So some of this was,
So was money withheld from
Yes.
Charles?
Yes. Yep.
But not at the inflated rate here though.
no, it came across the exact same price as what William Charles had quoted and bid. There was no increase to the.
To the amount.
To the
Right,
amount.
to the base price, but when there was a change order for numbers and stuff, there was extra dirt moved, then there's more money charged.
JP did it for the same price that
Yes.
Charles was doing it for.
Yeah, and that also calls out the, as per the plans that Bush and Gudgel did, so that would have been on, actually, that would have not been on bid package A, that would have been on bid package B.
Yeah.
If Butch and Gudgel did, yeah.
Because Bush and Gudgel did that, no right, to
Yeah, the no
avoid,
rise and
avoid the,
Road
the,
design change.
to get it above the natural gas, high pressure natural gas line. There was having conflicts with, a utility conflict there with the existing grade design that they had. So they had to raise that, and that's probably, and then they lowered the other portion of it. So it's where that new asphalt is where we're talking about. And it was probably inside that, it was in those trenches there, I know.
So there's not an actual budget for this job because it started at 11 million, it's at 19 million now.
Oh, there's a budget.
So
Oh, yeah.
There's budgets, but the change orders
we're
were,
staying in budget
There's a
because
budget.
somebody keeps giving us money, obviously.
No, we're staying in
No.
budget because we got a $6 million contingency plan. That's the only reason we're still in budget.
11 to 9 is what, 8?
Oh, no, we're talking the whole budget. We're talking
38.
bid, we're at 34 million.
$34 million.
We're at 34, Wayne. We're way beyond yeah.
We just
we're-
keep getting bigger, don't we?
You know, well, that was A and B combined. And we took some of the money from A and gave it to JP to finish and put it into B.
Yeah.
And thank goodness we had a $6 million contingency because the engineers, in my opinion, have messed us up about $6 million worth. So,
That's just hard to go back this far, but
right, we're just cleaning up paperwork.
we're just relying on.
We're relying on our.
We're relying on-
On our people we're paying a lot of money to rely on. So,
Got that, guys? We're relying on you for that.
all right, so we need a change order number 10.
I make a motion, Mayor, that we approve change order number 10.
Want to state the amount for me?
Up to but not to exceed.
In the amount of $800,498.50.
All right, I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. Any more discussion on this? This will be a roll call vote. Start with you, Chuck.
Aye.
Aye.
Wayne?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. I move on to item 5, discuss the possible action approving change order 11 in the amount of $1,894,059.35 from JP Excavating Mitigation on the North Slope. So this is the quantities and numbers of the model given to JP. We're still waiting on a geo report, but these are the numbers for the North Slope cut.
yeah, just so you know there too, that change order is there with all of the supporting document, well, just the change order, because that's the estimated quantities from Jed Palmer, based on the design of AGEC.
Does this change order have the, like the
Peninsula
abutment
and
and
all
all
It
that in there?
includes
So-
the peninsula.
So what would
and-
happen if we actually are able to bypass that? We would just,
Subtract that out.
We will
that out.
subtract all of that out.
And what's happening here is UDOT has not yet approved this change order.
yeah.
The reason that we have this in front of council tonight is simply because if we decide to move forward, UDOT approves it, we might, there's a chance that it could get completed, the change order could be complete before the demobilization, and then they could continue on with work. If that falls apart because of the delays as it relates to the power, this we may have to come back and have a modified change order.
So it could be, it looks like to me, we could save about $430,000.
And then also if we could do it in time, we could save another mob fee of $100,000.
$100,000, yeah, okay.
And this is proposed work, has it been?
Yes, this is the north slope.
This is North Slope. They haven't even started on it.
Yep. But as Ben said, I'd like to get it approved if we can. So if we can jump on it, then we're not waiting on us.
Ready for motion?
Yeah.
Any other discussion? May I make a motion to approve business item 5? What is it?
Change order
G5?
11.
G5.
Change order 11 for up to but not to exceed $1.9 million.
Should you include pending UDOT approval? Should that be included?
They have to.
Yeah.
They both have to approve to make it.
Okay, I have a motion to up to 1.9 million. Chuck, have a second. Any more discussion on this item? We'll have a roll call, roll call vote. Joe, we'll start on your side.
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Motion carries. All right, we're going to move on to item G6, discuss the possible action on approving change order number 12 in the amount of $80,801.28 from JP Excavation for the sand pocket mitigation. I don't know if you guys know where that sand pocket is. It's in between what do we call that, Darren? That little
It's
cut.
between the old racetrack and then the drop
And the
down.
drop into Shangri-La, there's a little sand pocket on the east side of the road. The fix is going to be dig out as much sand, I don't know how deep yet, or dig out the sand, fill it full of black lava rock
Yeah.
and go down.
And
the road.
there's a simple thing there with the UDOT is waiting there is that geotech
Geotech.
report.
Yeah.
In that geotech report, they are specifically looking for the D size number of the rock to be faced in there or replaced back in that. If it's a D50 or if it's a D, means this size of the rock.
Yeah, and in fact, I'm gonna get your phone number today. Tonight, I want to call the engineer tomorrow.
They want to use that that expanding foam thing. Everybody here in this room's got to know how to fix that for less than that money. That's a ridiculous price. All you got to do is dig it out, bust a little. I can have that done in 2 days.
And it still the problem is it has to, UDOT, its geotechnical group has to approve it. So they've talked about some different methods of doing it. They've talked about gunite. They've talked about that expandable geofoam. They've talked about nails. They've talked about a bunch of different things.
This was the cheapest route they come up with.
That was the cheapest route that UDOT would accept and allow.
With the foam,
Yeah.
foundation foam.
Yeah, they didn't want that up on that high for whatever reason. I think it's because of erosion, possible erosion. They would have to put the foam in and then they would have to also do some sort of a fascia with like a gunite and also pinning back in. The pins they determined would probably have to be about 8 to 10 feet on a pattern of about 12 inches. They were really tight.
And that price on that went way high. I think
Yeah,
it was 400,000.
It was into the millions, I thought.
Oh, was it that high?
With the north cut plus.
Oh, yeah, the north cut and
Yeah.
yeah.
Because they had talked about the same solution on the north cut.
Well, this is just the sand cut. This is just the sand.
It's just a sand
Yes.
pocket.
It's just,
Yeah.
it's crazy. Everything's right there.
They do have the rock, everything to be put right there that they could face in there, dig it
It's
out.
gonna exit out. You're gonna layer rock up there with
Yep.
tilder fact underneath. It's not a big deal, but. Yeah.
We're in the wrong business. We're in the wrong business. Oh, you're in the wrong business.
I'm in that business.
He's in that business. You should have been that
I'd
job.
love to have this prize.
All right. Any more discussion on item 6?
What's the 28 cents for?
That's for the creamer and the coffee for the
That's to
day.
flip the quarter to see who actually has to do the work.
I mean, really?
You can round up if you want, or you can round down to 80,800, or 28. If I need to come down here, I'll pull some pocket change out. So,
Mayor, I make a motion to approve business item number 6, change order number 12 for up to but not to exceed $81,000.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a pair of seconds. Any more discussion on this item? Roll call vote. Chuck, on your side?
Aye.
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 Nay.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, item G7, discuss the possible action on resolution 2024 Zion Bank General Fund Disclosure Signatory Designation. What is this exactly, Ben?
This is just administrative work. Our bank has requested that we have an updated document showing who the signers are, who the elected officials are. It's a request from the bank.
So if they want the elected officials and the
The elected officials aren't signers. It's identifying who the elected officials are and then who the signers on the bank account are. So there are 4 individuals, the mayor, myself, Darren, and Ruth, the treasurer, are the 4 signers on the account.
All right, pretty easy, pretty clean up. Any
We need
questions
to be
on this?
updated as well. You haven't been able to sign a check yet, have you?
I have.
Oh,
You
yeah.
have.
Oh, yeah, we did
I
this
didn't know
months
this
ago. This is
Yeah.
just trying to
I thought it was for you.
keep the bank happy, so.
Okay, cool.
Can I add somebody else?
And move that we approve the general fund disclosure signature designation.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Item G8, discuss the possible action on procurement waiver for Civil Science Parkway right of way. So this is, Darren will talk about this.
Yeah.
This. Yeah, go ahead.
So really the background on that, if you haven't read your agenda item sheet, it's basically when we met in October with the representatives of UDOT, Tokerville City, the Firelight, the mayor, Joey, and both the city manager, assistant city manager and the city manager, they came to the point where they needed to have build out of that 4-lane project so that they could determine the additional property outside of the existing already recorded right of way. And so to do that, they need to have what they call a model, and it would include the cut slopes that go outside of those right of ways. I guess I should have put I don't have that though, is an exhibit that shows the difference because they don't have one that's accurate right now. That's why I did not include it. Basically, it would show once they get designed, they can determine how much property they need outside of that right of way for slopes and for any type of additional structures. It could be extensions of culverts, all those different types of things. Anyway, so the UDOT has worked with, and in their engineering pool, it was kind of decided that it was not favorable to have Horrocks Engineering provide this to the degree of level that UDOT felt comfortable in establishing legal descriptions for those properties. So they suggested, well, we have other engineers in the area. One of those was Civil Science. And so for us to be able to change that, and with negotiations of UDOT somehow or another, in our next meeting, we'll discuss how this is going to be paid for to determine those. But with our procurement of $50,000, we need to have that waiver to be able to enter into that negotiation, is my understanding. So to do that, Tokerville City would hire it, but we'll work with UDOT and the developer to figure out how that is funded. Yes.
And while we're talking about that, I would love to see Civil Science do an RFQ.
I was just going to say that.
And get them in our engineering
So
pool.
what we've thought about doing is possibly putting out the ability to add some other engineers into our engineering pool for Tokerville City. That way we wouldn't have to go through this process of requesting a waiver of that procurement amount.
Yep. Any questions?
That is
Just where's the money coming from? And we have a ballpark as to what it is.
We don't have any.
So as of right
initial
now,
stages.
I have one engineer right now of approximately what that would cost, but it's only for the power pole design. It's not for that other stuff.
Right of way.
I'm still waiting for Civil Science. I've got Cameron Gay with UDOT has been also reaching out to Civil Science to get that as quick as we can. They were hoping to have it by tomorrow at the latest. So I was thinking, I was talking with Tyler at Civil Science yesterday, and he was doing everything. He says, I need to get you something. But with that, they want to know, they want to know hard costs of what it's going to cost engineering wise. I don't want to even say what that
Right.
price is going to
And
be.
As far as money goes, the meeting we had with UDOT, they were very favorable of rolling this money into the project and then possibly, most likely funding more money for the project.
Correct. So,
So,
yeah.
So if we approve this, basically, we're going to have to reapprove a dollar amount if the city needs to participate. Is that correct?
unless it's under the $50,000.
It'll probably come back as a change order.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll have to be to our advantage. We just don't have the kind of money it's going to cost to design that to the state level that UDOT's needing to feel comfortable.
And UDOT was very,
It's not just UDOT's need, it's also the property owners.
Yeah.
The property
Yeah.
owners need to have that comfort.
of
To
where
know.
they're going to future, this will debate their future development on where they can develop and all sorts of stuff. So.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I just want to stress that the UDOT, it was very gracious with working with us on our last meeting. They're very forthcoming. They know we might be short on money, and Lisa was down and she was very, she was more interested in moving our power and paying for the power to be moved than to leave that peninsula drying up there. So she's very proactive in helping us with some funding. So I think we're sitting in a very good spot with UDOT.
Mhm.
So.
They want to do it right. Even
first
if it
time.
takes a little bit longer
Yeah.
than the proper way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And they also are working with a possible solution to help Firelight to be able to get access to their property for right now. Somehow, possibly. We just don't know how that's going to all come about. There's going to be a couple more meetings before I think we start getting that completely ironed out. We've got some preliminary designs and things, but nothing hard, anything to take home yet. So,
Okay.
all right, more discussion. All right, just need a motion one way or the other.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve a procurement waiver for Civil Signs Parkway right-of-way.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any
Is that enough?
opposed?
Enough information for it? Yeah.
All right, we're going to move on to item G9, discuss the possible action on DNR Smart Controller Grant Award Contract. DNR Smart, is this like do not resuscitate? I mean, you put one on me right now if we're down to that point, a smart controller.
I'd like to, I'll have a little small discussion, but I'm going to talk with JD, and I think there's some better solutions to some possible better equipment for a
Okay.
much cheaper price. So
Okay, this is a sprinkler system. What do we have? What are we talking
just
about?
timers,
Oh, just
timers
timers.
and water sensors and
Okay.
weather sensors and
Okay.
communication, but
Perfect.
think
So
there's-
you'd like to,
yeah, I'd like to talk with JD and maybe come back with like 2 or 3 suggestions and
Okay.
2 or 3 different prices so that we
so
can really
this is
look at it and understand it.
this is a grant.
Yeah, there's a grant portion of it in there, but
Yeah.
I don't know what we want to look at in the grant is, do we need to do every park at the same time? Because if we can do like 2 of them, the ones that are the most critical for next spring and, see how it works, we might not have to spend all that money in this one year.
Okay.
Could split it up over 2 years and amend the budget for that or something.
Yeah, we'd have to look at how the grant award
How
is
it's working.
set up. Yep. I would also just like to make a note. I really appreciate that insight. And I think that's great to have options and talk about the benefits of each option. I think what I'd like to point out is just kind of, I appreciated JD and he's being proactive with this. He knew that they needed new timers and he went out and found some money for it. So I think
That's awesome.
yeah.
But sometimes as I found on a project in St. George, sometimes the grant isn't worth the money. You can go another route and actually save more money than you're actually getting in the grant. So let's look into that. So if you want to table this item and we can look into that. And
Certainly no urgency on sprinkler timers right now.
perfect. Yeah, we've got a couple months but I'd like to get them done and get them installed in the winter while the guys are slow and then come spring, we're not scrambling. So,
Well, we're out of budget, aren't we?
Got like 3 to 4 months. Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to table business item number 9.
Seconded.
I have a motion and a second to item G9. Any more discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion is approved. We're going to move on to item G10, discuss possible action on memorandum of understanding between organizers of the Tocqueville Turkey Trot and Tocqueville City. So with some organizers of the Turkey Trot, they are looking for sponsors. They don't feel comfortable going out and look for sponsors, say, hey, we want to give Tocqueville City some money. They would like to have Tocqueville City letterhead on basically saying this is going to go to Tocqueville City, but we need I talked to Ben about it. We need this in legal form. So they are binding. We are not binding by anything, and they are. So anyway, you guys have time to Kayla put this together on the fly. So anything we need to know about this?
Yeah, sure, I can talk about it.
So we're
So
not tied to any accidental things that happen on there.
Right.
exactly. So essentially what this agreement is an agreement that memorializes the fact that the city is not responsible if anything happens at the Turkey Trot.
Yes.
We didn't go so far as to say that the city's not endorsing the Turkey Trot in any manner whatsoever, because I think in allowing the Turkey Trot to use the letterhead, they are providing a limited endorsement. But the important part here is they're indemnifying the city and abiding by a few other terms in order to host the event. I think that this should be a standard form that's used for any event in which the host uses the letterhead of the city.
I think it's great. Ben and I discussed this on Monday, and of course, it's time sensitive because the Turkey Trot is coming up in 3.5 weeks. So I'm all for helping them as far as using the name and doing what we can for them. All the money that's left over, they actually donate to Tocqueville City Parks and Rec, our Parks Department. I can't remember what we got last year. It was
6,000 or something. Or
was it? I don't know if it was that
600.
much. Yeah, but it's
It was in the hundreds of dollars.
yeah. So it's better than no money. Anybody have any discussion on this item?
This is just the one time this year.
I think they should come in every year
Right.
and apply for the same thing. So
It's also a good idea to have this in writing, just memorializing exactly how the funds are going to be used. Like there's been talks that the funds should be used towards the Parks Department, so it's good to have that in writing to make sure that the city has thought
actually,
out.
yeah, we're
Just make sure that the
we're-
funds get used for what.
yeah,
they're
we're
supposed
actually
to be,
saying what they want us to.
that there's an
do.
agreement between the parties.
So are you asking us to table this so you can?
No,
prove
no,
that?
no.
No,
That's all in there.
there.
It's
That's
in
in
there.
there.
That's all in there.
Yeah.
Got that in there,
Yeah.
what you're saying.
It's in
Yep.
there. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's worth the 33.5 hours we paid Kayla to write this up.
It didn't take me long.
That seems like 3.5 hours.
Another component of this discussion is what the Turkey Trot looks like in the future. I think the current event promoters have been running it for a long time and are maybe ready to pass the reins off to an individual or entity that may be willing to accept it. So if this is something that the city would be interested in the future, those conversations are probably to come. If that's something
Did you just ask Emily to be a race director too?
I did.
How many hats, Emily? How many hats?
One other point I want to bring up about the event services agreement is that I actually don't have a copy in front of me, sadly.
Want
Can
to
you
zoom
zoom
that
in?
out a
Yeah,
little
can
bit,
you
get a
zoom
little
in
bit
a little
bigger? You're still got young eyes, so that you can,
Sorry, this is the one thing I did not print.
it's they're bigger now.
Okay, scroll down a little bit. Okay, so event insurance, that's what I was thinking of. So one of the key obligations in this agreement is anybody who hosts an event is required to obtain an event insurance. This will help ensure that they can actually meet their duty to indemnify the city, right? If there's no insurance, then there's no guarantee that that could occur. So that's something that's important that's in here. In terms of the Turkey Trot, we drafted this to say that the city can cancel the Turkey Trot if they don't obtain event insurance to kind of provide some flexibility. But moving forward, we'd advise that any event that's receives any limited endorsement from the city obtains event insurance, yeah.
Do they know they need to get insurance?
So that's something we need to talk to them about.
Have they done it before?
I don't probably know.
I don't know.
Yeah,
No.
we're not sure.
They have not.
They've never done
So you drafted this recently?
I did
Wow, I'm
about
impressed.
24 hours
Turned
ago.
it around
Yeah.
fast.
Sweet.
it. Yeah, this is,
This is awesome.
Yeah,
So that's $1 million policy.
Let's get her done.
exactly.
I'm hoping it doesn't eat up all their funds.
Well, did you say that it, like, we could maybe waive it this time?
We could
Or-
waive
yeah.
it this time. I drafted it so it could be waived this time, but just moving forward, it's something for council to consider whether.
And then
short notice,
something
too,
like
yeah.
this.
that might give them incentive to in the future to hand the reins to the city. We have an event coordinator person.
We do.
Bailey,
We do.
an actual staff member that could do this, and we could actually put it as part of a budget too, rather than not having to pull funds from somewhere
Automatically be
else.
insured then.
Yeah, at that point,
For
it's under
liability.
city.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, then it falls underneath a city event.
Then we'll need a new form drafted for, racers.
Racers, exactly. Then they have to waive
That's another
liability.
33 hours.
Is
33.
Bailey's back now?
Bailey is back on
So she
a,
was gone, but now she's back.
so you're working that on an event as
Per
needed.
event, yep.
Yeah, so
Per
she's,
event,
yeah,
okay.
per event, which is working out phenomenal.
Okay.
The Halloween, what are we calling that? I guess the trunk or treat turned out really, really good. The numbers came in great, man. Yeah, I mean, it was well attended. I didn't count, but we had to have well over 200 people there. The food was good. We had a live band. I don't know if you guys, Gary was there. What do you think?
Chili was up.
Chuck was there. We ran out of chili.
Chili
We'll do
was-
different next year. So
We had plenty of potatoes.
we did. We had lots of potatoes, set potatoes home with people. So anyways, yeah, Emily is doing a wonderful, Emily's doing a wonderful job, but Bailey's doing a wonderful job on that. And she's already working on, we'll get into that later. But anyways, so the MOU for the Turkey Trot plus future events in the city is what we're talking about now. So.
So I'm looking at something different here than I'm different there. That's not the same agreement. F is damage and that one is insurance.
There was some question when we discussed with Bruce as to whether or not that language should be included or just completely excluded this year. But I think given
I
that
don't have that.
in the packet, we may have excluded it,
Oh, yeah.
removed it.
Mhm.
It's
Did
not
you
in
exclude
here.
the insurance provision entirely?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not in our packet.
And so I think maybe based on Kayla's recommendation, we can say one or the other is probably if the language, sounds like what you're saying is it allows us to waive that for this year.
Yeah, essentially we drafted this so it's a form that can be used in the future. I made it up to your discretion to waive the insurance requirement, just keeping in mind that the turkey trot probably wouldn't meet that requirement. So you can adopt it with the insurance policy or without.
I think with the insurance policy, with the ability to waiver it. would be
Yeah, because
great.
right now it says if they fail to obtain insurance, the event may be canceled by the city. So it's in your discretion.
Okay, anything else? Thank you for getting this quick.
Yeah, you bet.
That's great.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve the MOU between Tokerville City and the Tokerville Turkey Trot.
Second.
Say that right? Yeah.
3 times. All right, motion has been made in a second. Any further discussion on this item?
Which one are we adopting
With the insurance.
with the insurance? So should we state that?
Yes, we're going to
Could we
modify it with the
restate that?
insurance.
Yes, the one with the insurance, as stated by the attorney.
Yes, perfect. All right, any more discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, on to calendar events. Veterans Day coming up November 11th, which is next Monday. Cinnamon rolls for all veterans. So if you know a veteran, bring them in. If not, get us a name and address and I will help hand deliver those. We have that was between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. Item 2 is Tokerville Turkey Trot Trail Run Thursday, November 28th. That is at 10 a.m. Sorry, it's not a night run. 10 a.m. at the city park, Center Street Park. And then we have our Christmas tree lighting Monday, December 2nd at 6:30 p.m. So
What was it thinking for 6:30?
let people get home from work and it's dark enough. So, yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And it's
Go ahead.
Is it gonna be like last year where we had the,
Yeah, I'm working with Bailey on a little program to have some stuff inside. I talked to Jack Alexander. He wants to, I said he'd come and play music for us again. And we're trying to get a few things done. This is the date and the time we're working on the program. So I think last year was great. What do you think, Todd? Did you?
yeah, we're there.
Oh, yeah, I think it was well done. And we know Saturdays are really tough. Monday, we figured Monday evening would be great. People can come for a family get together, or that way we're not messing up lots of Christmas party times during our weekends. So we're trying to move this to a Monday. Anyways, so any input on that, Chuck?
Okay, up until 2 years ago, the city every holiday season had a Christmas tree lighting program
Yep,
and a Christmas tree lighting contest.
exactly.
Okay, it came before the city council 2 years ago, and was suggested by the previous city manager that we do away with it. But the city council voted to keep it. Nonetheless, it got killed without our permission over the last 2 years, and it's already been approved by the city council. And I'd like to see us put our Christmas tree lighting lights contest back into effect for this year.
Okay.
And I don't think we have to vote on it because we already approved it. But I don't want it to go away. I think it's good for the city.
As long as Wayne's voting and Wayne's not competing, we're okay.
Wayne's back in the running this year. It's been 2 years. He's
It
back
has
in the
been
running.
too, back in the running.
But one of the things that we discussed is those that have previously won, Wayne, myself, and Chuck.
Wow, this is
Wow,
really
this sounds a little
And
crooked
the
here.
$5,000
It wasn't me,
reward.
it's my wife.
No, so anyway, we have automatically volunteered to exclude ourselves from we'll participate in the lighting, but not in the contest eligibility.
Yeah.
That's what we've decided to do.
But just a Todd then.
So all 60 said to come to my house before the second so I can get the lights lit.
Yeah.
It's just not working out with the wind.
Oh, on December, well, hang on.
That's the Christmas tree lighting here. We need to, we'll have to figure out
That
time
usually happens like
later.
5 days before Christmas.
Christmas, yeah, well, that's not on, you don't have to have it done by the second.
If we could add that on there, as Chuck said. The other thing I'd like to see on here is the Wreaths of America. Are we going to participate in that?
We have.
Oh,
that.
there it is, right
Yeah,
there.
it just didn't get far enough down on the calendar item, so that is on the 14th.
Okay.
That's awesome.
That is a very good program. Greg Turner, once again, has volunteered to railroad that for us. He has a meeting tomorrow with Bailey. I'm coming down. We're going to talk about what he needs to do on the Wreaths of America.
And I'd like to come in on Veterans Day and pick up a cinnamon roll and deliver it to Jerome Gorley's house.
Perfect.
He had a fall and he's stuck on a walker, and he just got out of rehab for some time. And he has done so much to bring this to this town and organize it and
Take him
bring
too.
Greg aboard as well. And he deserves a cinnamon roll delivered to his home.
Yeah, take him too.
Yeah.
True cinnamon rolls.
2 cinnamon rolls.
Maybe he'll share with you. You don't get one.
So
It's okay.
anyway, I just want to recognize Jerome for everything he has done this year.
Absolutely.
Such a great guy.
He is. Jerome is an outstanding individual, and we love to have him as a veteran and as a Gold Star family member.
Right.
Also, he
Yes.
is amazing. Their family has put a lot towards our country.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah.
All right, there's some pictures. Tocqueville City has an Instagram. So get on and join Instagram and Tocqueville City page and follow, and you guys can like all the things that get posted on there, and it's turned out really good. There was a nice video on there today, and then there's also the pictures posted on from the trunk or treat. So we got to thank Bailey for that. So
Yeah, we shouldn't allow twins at the event.
there was several of them.
Yeah.
I think there's a pair there. I think the city manager,
Yeah.
Ben brought a couple twins.
Yeah.
There they are right there.
Yeah.
So outstanding. So we are going to move into a closed session at this point.
Mayor, make a motion to move into a closed session, discuss the character, professional competence, physical, mental health of an individual, and strategy session to discuss pending and reasonable imminent litigation.
Okay, I have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor? Aye. All right, we are going to take a 5-minute break.